This guy it became pretty clear that he was going to screw me, but I got my revenge on him. Good morning, one and all. My name is Stan Genetic. I've been a contractor for over 35 years and running heavy equipment for 40-something years. And I'm going to be telling you some stories from the field. Everything that I'm about to tell you today is an actual true story that actually happened. I will tell you what the contractor did to screw over his clients, and then I will tell you the outcome of that situation. And since these are true stories, they're not always going to have happy endings. So without wasting any more time, let's get right into today's video. Now this first story is about Doug, who was a commercial contractor, but he figured out a way to screw other commercial contractors and residential clients that he had on his books, but he didn't use the same technique for each one. Doug got so proficient at screwing people over that Doug was able to build his own rental center right from scratch, and Doug still operates it today. Now, his technique for screwing over commercial contractors was what I would call the double suit. The first time I met Doug was when I was developing his site. I had to do all of the infrastructure, all of the excavating, everything that I had to accomplish on his job. Came to about $20,000. And it became apparently clear to me that I was not going to get paid. So I walked off from the job. Doug hired a general contractor to finish his job site. Why not? Because Doug didn't have a plan on paying this guy. I happened to know, just by coincidence, the general contractor that Doug hired. The general contractor that Doug hired another excavating contractor to finish off the project. Here's what Doug did to get out of his bill. Doug took my bill, which was $20,000, and decided that he was going to sue me for double. Doug took the bill from the general contractor that he hired and sued him for double. Doug took the bill from the other excavating contractor that came in, and guess what he did? Sued him for double. Doug loved to sue people. Now, the general contractor that Doug hired, since I knew him, came to me and said, "Hey, what are you gonna do?" And I said, "Hey, I'm not gonna roll over and let this guy get away with this. I'm going to fight it. What are you going to do?" And since they're facing a lawsuit for double, it gets to be a bit scary, because if you lose, not only do you not get paid for the work you've accomplished, now you've got to pay somebody twice as much as what your work is worth. He backed away off. He just backed off from the bill, said he wasn't going to charge them. The other excavating contractor did the same thing. And they said to me, "What are you going to do, Dirt Monkey?" And I says, "Well, I'm going to come here. I'm going to fight it." That is a big dragonfly. I said, "I'm going to fight it." Here's where the story gets really interesting. I hired an attorney, and the attorney I hired, out of sheer coincidence, already had a lawsuit going against Doug, because on the residential side of things, Doug had been screwing over his residential customers. And here's how Doug had screwed over his residential customers. He would take their deposit, he would deliver their materials, and then he would disappear. He took the deposit. He was doing a kitchen remodel at the same time that I was fighting him. Another residential client was fighting him as well, and the attorney shared the information with me. Maybe he wasn't supposed to, but he did. I'm not going to tell you the attorney's name, so I'm not getting the attorney in trouble. But what I found out was that Doug took a big deposit to do a kitchen remodel, and instead of doing the kitchen remodel, went to Disney World. I can't make this story up. So Doug's big way of getting out of paying his bills was to take every commercial contractor that he worked for and sue them for twice as much as what he owed them, hoping and betting that they would back off from their invoice. And as far as my experience goes, 2 out of the 3 of us did. On the residential side of it, he would take the deposit He would deliver the materials, he would start the work, and then he would just disappear and leave. Now, since this is a real world story, I ended up going to court, and I did collect the money that was owed to me because I hadn't done anything worth suing me for double. On the flip side of the coin, the general contractor that backed out of it had got paid nothing, so Doug had saved all the money from the general contractor, and the other excavating contractor that Doug had hired also didn't collect a single dime. So Doug kind of had a home run on 2 out of 3. Now, what happened with that residential client that Doug had screwed over with that kitchen remodel, I can't tell you because I don't know. That was out of my pay grade. This next story is just unreal. If it didn't actually happen and I was there, I wouldn't believe it myself. I had been digging a monstrous basement. This customer wanted, I think it was like an below ground tennis court or something. It wasn't my first below ground tennis court that I was doing by any means, but this basement was massive that I was digging for this client. And I did my dig. I was hired. The owner of this house hired a general contractor. The general contractor hired me. The general contractor hired a concrete company. The general contractor hired all of the subs, as what a general contractor does. Here's where it gets really good, because I wasn't the only one that got screwed. There's so many people that got screwed on this deal. And I don't mean good in a good way. The story just unreal. I completed my dig. The concrete guy came in and he poured this monstrously big basement. It was massive. The materials to start framing showed up, and this is what the general contractor did. The general contractor showed up at my house with a check in his hand, handed me the check and said, "Sign the lien waiver." Now, this isn't the first time I've been in this situation where I've had to sign a lien waiver and do whatever I do, right? So I signed the lien waiver, but I had this nasty feeling in my belly. I did it anyway because he said, now I'm going to go over and get the lien waiver signed by the concrete company. So he did that. Then he went to the material supply house. These are the guys that provided all of the framework, the big lumber, big box store, right? Provided all the framework for this thing. He had gotten me, concrete guy, and material supplier that I know of to sign off on our lien waivers. He then took the lien waivers to the bank, said, I've got these lien waivers, I've paid these guys, I need to cover these funds. So he went to the owner's bank. The bank gave him the money. I don't know exactly how much it was, but it had to be a lot of money, probably $100,000 or plus $1,000. By the time I got my basement, all this stuff, put all this together. The GC collected the $100,000 from the bank, and then he canceled my check. He canceled the check to the concrete guy. He canceled the check to the material supply company, and he fled the country, never to be seen again. The owner of this house came to me in almost tears. What do? And I didn't know. I mean, I had never seen a situation like this before in my life. And I said, I still need to get paid. I haven't gotten paid, and none of us had actually technically gotten paid. So what had happened was the GC had collected the lien waivers, taken the cash, canceled the checks, fled the country, but the homeowner is still left holding the bill because by law and by rights, the lien waivers aren't effective until the actual funds have hit the bank. And this GC timed it just perfectly right. So in this case, I don't know how this ended. I know that my portion of the job was done. So I was out of it because my basement was dug, backfilled, everything was good. I don't know what happened to it, but I do know that for the longest time that the homeowner was losing his mind, unfortunately. And I tried to help this guy track him down. I think he fled to Canada. I don't know where this guy went, but this story didn't have the happy, warm, fuzzy ending that you would want it to have, unfortunately. But that is another way that a contractor can screw a customer. That's unreal. If these guys just worked as hard at actually helping a customer as they do hurting a customer, there'd be so many more successful people in this world. Now this next story happened to me with that roof right there. Hey Frankie. That looks good. You want to hear a good story?
Yeah.
All right, you gotta walk with me then.
Okay.
All right. Frankie actually put my roof on. Right? You put
the house, yeah.
on the house right here.
Yep.
You do know you weren't the first person I chose to put the roof on though, right?
Yep.
All right, come on with me here, Frankie. So I actually, before I had Frankie come in and install this roof for me, because this was back when you and I were just first starting to work together.
Yep.
Right?
First time up here, yeah. I did a little bit of work at your cabin up north.
Yep, a little bit here, a little bit there. That was what, 15, 20 years ago or so? Yep. So I hired another contractor, Frankie, and I knew the other contractor, so I felt pretty good about this guy coming in to install that roof for me. I had done jobs for him and everything was, he seemed like a real straight up kind of guy. And the building he owned, this was one of those caveats, was I was looking at, as I'm looking at contractors, does he work out of the back of his van or does he actually have a solid brick and mortar store? This guy had a brick and mortar store that was 3 stories tall and like a half a block wide. It was massive. Yeah. This guy was hyper successful. He came in and he gave me a bid to put that roof on, and I think the bid was what, 45 grand or something like that. Big. Yeah, it was a big bid. But it was a guy I knew, so I went with him. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. I gave him half of the money down. Now he promised me a start date. I had a receipt. I had my proposal, and I kept a text chain going with this guy. And my start date came and went, and then the new start date came and went, and the new start date came and went, and the new start date came and went. So it became pretty clear to me that this guy didn't plan on coming out
and doing the work. Yeah.
And so I asked for my money back. And then I started to get ghosted. Oh, excuses. Oh no, we'll have it. Oh no, this or all that. Always an excuse why he couldn't give me my money back. So I said, enough is enough is enough. This guy it became pretty clear that he was going to screw me, but I got my revenge on him. And this is what I did, is I went to because he was a general contractor. So I went to the state that held his license. Yeah. And I brought the state, I met with the state, I went right into the state office. I brought the state the proposal, I brought the state my receipts, I brought the state a copy of all the text messages, and the state looked at me and said, actually, we know this guy. This guy's on probation already for doing other things. Yes. The state pulled his license.
Oh, really?
He couldn't operate anymore. I mean, and he had a massive brick and mortar store to support, multiple crews that he had to support, and the state said, nope, you're out of business until you start to take care of some of these issues. That's the only way I was able to get my money back.
Oh, you did get it back?
I got my money back from him. Besides that, I knew where he lived.
Yeah.
I did. I knew where he lived because I knew him well enough that I would deliver wood to his house, because when we were cutting down and felling trees, I didn't have anywhere to take it. I mean, now Frankie takes all my trees, so I would bring him everything that I couldn't handle, and I would deliver it right to his house. I knew where everything, I knew his gate, I knew everything about this guy.
Right.
So he really had to
do something.
He had to pay up. So the take the deposit and run is another way that these guys can, and give you excuses is another way.
That don't always work for them either, though.
No.
Like this deal.
No, I think I got lucky, but pulling a contractor's license, having that license, pulling that contractor's license, one of the things I'm going to recommend to guys, if you're hiring somebody, is just make sure they're not working out of the back of a pickup truck, because pickup trucks are pretty mobile and they can hit the road pretty easy. So,
hey, like me?
Yeah, like Frankie, but I know where Frankie lives too. I know where Frankie lives.
See, here's the deal on this one. I have a mailbox. Okay, this is back the side. The mailbox. Letter for your newspapers. Mailbox, newspaper, mailbox, mailbox. For the newspaper. Okay. Side to side. That way I can run my angle.
Okay.
Same thing. Mailbox, 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 newspaper.
All right. If you can't figure it out, Frankie's building a new mailbox holder for me. All right, guys. Well, that's my stories, and I'm sticking to them because they are all absolutely true. But now it's your turn. I want to hear your stories because you guys have some humdingers. Lay it on me, guys. Hope you guys stay safe out there. Stay smart. And a rising tide raises all ships. So when we're willing to share our stories, good, bad, and in between, I think we all benefit in some way, shape, or form. That's this one. God bless. Go get him, you guys. Hit that subscribe button. And one last thing. The video idea for this came from one of you guys that said, hey, you know what would be great? A video on how contractors screw people. And I said, dang, you got it. So if you guys want to hear something or got an idea for a video, just lay it on me. Maybe we can make that happen. God bless. Go get them, you guys. We'll catch you on another one.